Hi everybody, this is Rose of Sharon and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently read Ainsley Earnhart's The Light Within Me. This is an inspirational memoir recently published, and it's about Mrs. Earnhardt's climb to fame in Fox and Friends. She wasn't always on the career to become a journalist. When she was younger, she was very intrigued by orthodontics, and her parents always thought that, oh, she's going to become a dentist and or a hygienist, but that wasn't the vocation that God chose for her. And she's very upfront with her Christian faith, which I really like. And of course, it starts off with a quote from the Bible. It says, "I have come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness," which is John 12:16, excuse me. Sometimes I get kind of dyslexic with my numbers, or I jump ahead. I don't mean to. And she was originally from South Carolina, so when she was going into journalism, she had to speak correctly, so she couldn't pronounce pen as pen as pin. I almost did it myself because I do have a little bit of that Southerner in me. And 10 is pronounced not like tin, but 10. And I've never had any issues with the word 10. Now pen, yeah, sometimes. And here in the Midwest, sometimes we say wash, but I've never said wash. I always say wash. So apparently I was raised correctly. And I speak clearly and I enunciate and elocute. So I think people understand me for the most part. I'm kind of soft-spoken at times, but she just speaks about how she learned how to, like I said, communicate properly when she was on the air. And she said that, well, they took all the Southerner out of me, so people who watched Fox and Friends and other places besides, excuse me, other places besides South Carolina could understand me. This was a really exceptional memoir. She goes through some really hefty trials and tribulations. She actually went through a divorce, and she met another man later down the road who was everything that she ever needed. She she goes through a miscarriage, which for a woman, I want to have children myself, and I can't possibly fathom going through that, but she describes it as her Jesus year. And she later gives birth to Hayden, and she was a fall baby, just like she had prayed. And it's incredible how God moves, and you can see her steadfastness, but she always has issues with patience. And I thought, yeah, don't we all? But it's one thing as believers when we're just sitting at the Master's feet and preparing ourselves and wondering when He'll answer us. But He will. And He'll either give you one of three answers: yes, no, or wait. And most of the time it's wait. And you'll see how He'll bless you in those instances. I know I have. And I can say that's been happening quite a bit in my experience, and I just live life as it's supposed to be lived. I don't really live by any preconceived notions. I just go along with the flow, as it were. And this book gave me a lot of hope, because she really went through a lot of very arduous trials, and I just think to myself, how would I face something like that, even with my faith the way it is. Could I handle it? And I don't know if I could, honestly, especially her miscarriage. Reading that was absolutely devastating. It was heartbreaking. And I remember my mom, she didn't like talking about my half brothers due to the fact that they all died early. My first one died when he was 2 years old because he had megalocolon and they couldn't repair his issue. And he basically had a heart attack on the gurney and died at 2, which I don't think my mom fully overcame that. I'm sure she saw a lot of death when she was in OBGYN, well, not an OBGYN, but delivery, because she didn't mention it, but I know she did. I know she had to, but she didn't enjoy talking about that aspect of the job, but I know that was there. And I know that she never really, she always regretted the one time at school where there was a boy who was handicapped and he was egged into eating more than he could handle, and the young man was already overweight, and this added to his problems, but he had too much in his mouth and he was asphyxiating, and my mom, being an RN, she rushed to the scene and she did her resuscitations and she did everything that she could to save this young man, but he still died. And of course, a lot of people were blaming her for negligence, and no, she did her due diligence. She did everything in her power, but I think she never really forgave herself. She always felt responsible for that child's death, even though she wasn't directly responsible for it. The bullies that kept egging him on into eating more than he could handle were the ones that were truly responsible. But every so often I'll think of that, I'll come back to it, and I think, well, other people aren't going to remember you for that. Other people will remember you for your kindness, your openness, your good heart, and the fact that, just like Ainsley talks about the Proverbs 31 woman, I personally think that my mother was a Proverbs 31 woman, as well as my grandmother, both my grandparents. I only knew one living grandparent, and that was my grandma Nellie Astor. And Nellie was the one who taught me how to read. I know I've spoken about this before, but had it not been for Nellie, I would have absolutely loathed reading. I never would have picked up another book such as that. And that book really changed my perspective. Well, my perspective has always been optimistic, but it just made me realize that even in the times where we think God is distant from us, He's all the closer, because He's helping us get through those difficult times, even though we don't think that He is. But according to the Word, He doesn't give us more than we can handle, which is true. He always provides a way of escape. I forget where that is, but it's very apt that she would speak of that. And she's humble, and she mentions in no way, shape, or form is she meaning to bolster herself or make herself or aggrandize herself or make the reader feel inadequate. It's just to let the reader understand that these things do happen, and through them we actually become stronger people, and sometimes we even go through periods of doubt. We all do, and I think that the periods of doubt are just little tests of our strength. But it's a short book, and if you're a fan of Mrs. Earnhardt's work, and I've never really seen Fox and Friends, but I like her personality. I picked it up because I thought, oh, I know about her, and oh, she's on Fox and Friends. I didn't know that because I don't watch Fox News, but Sorry, I don't watch the news, period. But needless to say, I still think that it was a sensational book. And if you're interested in something that is uplifting, encouraging, and motivational, then by all means. And it's also a very faithful book and scripturally based. And in this time, I think we really need it, because I still really believe that we're in the end times. And I don't say that to scare people. I just say that to wake people up if you're not awake yet. But I mean, look around you. It's obvious. But we have to remain diligent. We have to be vigilant and stalwart. I love the word stalwart. But we have to remain steadfast, as it says in the word. But we'll all come together, and no matter what, it can be very many number of things that'll happen. We don't know, but one thing that is certain that will keep us through this is Jesus himself, and thank God for that. But that's all I got to say. So until next time, live long, prosper. Ciao, tutti.